We are building a chopper inspired by monster trucks, and so far our steering hasn't gone well. So this week, it's back to the drawing board and time to fill in a bunch of missing pieces that this bike still has.
Got this straightened out and welded up from the fence debacle. I can't steer! I'm gonna make a little brace out of plate steel that's gonna go from the bottom here. It'll come kind of up this one and then tie it to that one. Very nice. Another one of my parts that looks way smaller once cut out. All right, before I waste any time cleaning this up, let's see if my math was better this time. Oh yeah, that's perfection right there. Well, we got an exciting box of parts to deal with while I continue to contemplate what I'm gonna do about the steering. Got some high performance goodies in here. Ooh. A very nice intake kit from Rottweiler Performance. Also, this kit is claimed to gain up to, I think, like 10 to 15 horsepower over the stock airbox. So that's a win. The main reason that we're doing this is because the stock airbox is like this big and super ugly. That's gonna look very, very nice. Well, that looks way better than it did without that on there. We also got these little doodads from Rottweiler that plug into where the O2 sensors go. Deletes the O2 sensor without messing up the, performance or having any, codes or anything. I've been putting it off long enough. It's time to address the steering and design something that's not this hydraulic setup, because as cool as that idea was, it's not gonna work. So we've reached the stage of the build where I just use duct tape to hold everything together. It's just gonna be duct tape from here on out. What I'm doing here is just mocking up some ideas, because after our little test roll down the hill, I found some weak points in this. This point here, I don't think has bent significantly, but it definitely flexes under load. A lot of strength for this section relative to this section. Now I just need to add in stuff to reinforce this section, because right now this bit is still exactly as strong as it was. Like magic. It's done. Yeah, I'm fairly happy with how that came out aesthetically, and it adds a good bit of strength right here, and it adds a ton of strength in sort of a twisty this way direction, which is good. So now I think the weak point is all back here, and this whole thing here is what's able to twist. I'm gonna pull this sprocket hub adapter thing off and make a new one. Remembered that I had a little tiny chunk of this pipe left, which is the perfect size to just machine out just enough for the bearing, clean it up on the outside, and so now this bearing fits just perfectly in there. It's just a light press fit, which is exactly what we want. So, and then there's a little ridge there, so it can't go out the back side. And then on the front side, it'll just be right up against the sprocket on the outside there, so that'll hold it from moving back and forth. So that'll just go right here, and then be braced to this and braced to that. So now I just gotta lop a chunk of this off, throw it in the lathe. I'm going to lop this part off here, and then bore a hole through the middle of that, and then we'll, you know, be that much closer to this thing being finished. Just kidding. That hole, it's tapered, apparently. All right, well, ignore everything I just said. We'll take this over to the press and use large amounts of hydraulic power to push that all the way in. Well, I'd say that's pretty welded, and those welds are kind of pretty. I think that was 4 passes, maybe 5 passes. Make it nice and sturdy. Let it cool down a bit between passes so it doesn't get overheated. But now I just got to get it a little straighter. So if you spin it up, you can kind of see it wobbling a little bit. And I should be able to fix most of that just by adding just a smidgen more weld on one side or the other, so I'll figure out where I need to add some weld. I got this finished up last night. Got my bolt there on the end to hold that in. The back side obviously will be held by this being part of the swing arm, which means that the only way to take this apart is going to be to take the wheel off, take the hub off, and then pull it out, but that's fine. But look at this. Right? This is a factory part. Came out of a factory, ordered it online. This is something I made, this is something I made, this is something I made, that's right. I made all of this stuff. Now, if we spin that, look how wobbly that part is. This is not, right? This bearing wobbles a smidgen. But if you go to this section, it barely wobbles at all. This thing is just super inaccurate. When they punched the hexagon shape into there, they didn't get it centered. Like, if you look at where the point of that hexagon is, it's right at the edge of that bevel. This one is like a 1/16 of an inch into, like, past the edge of the bevel. Rather than wait for another one to arrive, I'm just gonna turn this edge down a little bit until it's round, which, you know, then it'll be perfect. Got the inside of that turned out to fit this perfectly, and I have it pushed into place using a hole saw here. It just happened to be the right size, and it's just holding it back against there, so there's a little bit of pressure so that, you know, when I tack it, it doesn't warp. Got that welded, and it's extremely flat in this plane. I just had to do a couple little extra welds to warp it into straightness, and it is extremely straight, so that's perfect. But as you can see, this backside is still super wobbly. And to drill these holes for the sprocket to bolt to in a perfectly concentric hexagonal pattern, the only way to get it perfect, really, is to either use the lathe or the mill and this dividing head, which spins around and you can lock it in at certain degrees and whatever. Because this sprocket hub is removable, I can just take that and clamp it in these jaws here, and either put it on the mill, or for funsies, I might use the lathe, because I can put a drill bit in the 3-jaw chuck here, and then put the thing in this, and clamp it down here, and then rotate it around and make it work. And just like that, we have a brand new hexagonal bearing supported axle drive thing. There's still a little bit of flex in this, which I kind of expected, because now that this whole part can't flex, it's just flexing this here, where at a certain point here, all of these are kind of in a plane, which means there's not really three-dimensionality to it aside from the thickness of the tubes, which isn't enough. So I decided to make a little brace that goes from here, follows this. Oh yeah. Well, my measurement of that angle was a smidgen off, but I think we can still make that work. Oh wow. Do you think you could be more in the way? I don't think so. You're doing a good job of being in the way. So there we go, got that plate mostly welded. Now I'm gonna go ahead and take the sprocket off so that I can weld the rest of it, and then I'll pull the wheel off so I can weld the back side of the swing arm, but it is considerably more rigid now with all that bracing in there. Like, the tire barely moves when you squeeze the chain. I looked around at some pictures on the internet of what the pipe looks like on this bike, and I think I have plenty of clearance to put a brace from here down to there, just like the other side. So I pulled that bolt out, and a piece of 1¼ inch tubing fits kind of perfectly right into where that bolt goes.
said, this is never really going to be an off-road machine, but could you imagine a video of it romping through a whoop section and
Oh God!
you're on the middle just like
That would be so terrifying. I mean, I am taking it to King of the Hammers in less than a month.
Ayo.
I've been putting it off long enough. It's time to address the steering and design something that's not this hydraulic setup, because as cool as that idea was, it's not gonna work. So we'll take that off and hang it on the wall somewhere, and you know, learn some things. The steering cables just showed up. These are so much beefier than I imagined.
The one in the jet boat is like yoink.
Yeah, these are 10mm ends on there.
Wow.
Yeah.
These look expensive.
They are. They're extremely expensive. They're like $300 and something a piece.
Ooh.
It's like $650 a cable. So that's why I say I really hope these work. That'll go kind of, I mean, at a rough estimate, that one will totally work. I realized afterward, like, because I'm doing two of them, they don't technically need to be push-pull cables. They could just be like basically a really beefy throttle cable. And I could just use two of those and they'd be pulling on both sides. But this adds an extra level of redundancy so that, you know, when this one's pulling, this one is also pushing. So I'm just gonna change the bolt diameter of that on the computer and then cut out two more plates for that side to start with so that I can get both of these bolted exactly where they go on this end while I figure out the rest of it. I was thinking about how to make these mounts look decent and be strong, and I realized I could just take a piece of tubing and put it over that, except this tubing does not quite fit. It's very close, so I have these two little chunks cut. I'm gonna throw them in the lathe, bore them out just a smidgen so they fit over that, and then that way I can just have that on here, and then just a little stubby snubby of tubing like that up to there. It'll be super duper strong. I have mounted this end here of the one. And as you can see, there's two of them next to each other because I'm revisiting the idea of just doing tandem ones so they're redundant. And looking at it, I think that'd be plenty strong enough. The bottom line is, if I do it the other way, it just looks ugly. I've decided that having this one wrap around like this and then having this one stick way out over there, it just totally ruins the look of the bike, and this thing's all about looks. So I can't cheap out or give up now. I gotta make it look right. On today's episode of Ethan is a hoarder and is sometimes extremely lucky. This is a temporary tie rod that I used back when I built the Barbie camper that was still in my drawer of random tie rods. You can see this end's just welded together because it was just a temporary thing to do something very similar to what I'm doing now. And then I was standing here and I was just about to put this bolt through and I was like, wait, I need a spacer so they don't run into each other. I looked down on the ground and next to my foot was this. Don't ask me where it came from. but it was right at my foot, and it's
the right size?
it's the right diameter. It's like the perfect. Oh man, that's so much easier.
That's way too easy. What the heck?
Well, I mean, there's no weight on it right now, so
true.
there's that. But like,
That's so much better than the hydraulic.
yeah. I mean, obviously this isn't ideal. Blink. Ha! There was only like one thread on that. And the moral of the story is, never throw anything away. This, I believe, is Subaru axle left over from the Odyssey days. This is one of the bearings I was considering. It's a
Subaru timing belt.
Yep, Subaru timing belt idler. I still have some of these laying around after all these years of building stuff. These have found their way into so many builds. It turns out it's the same diameter. And it'll be a cool little part, you know? It'll stick out here like that and be nifty. Do it the old-fashioned way.
We were talking about one-hit wonders, and I forget who sings that, but somebody! I can hit the high notes better when I'm a little bit sick. So that's better than usual, believe it or not. But yeah, Will and I are planning more shenanigans, because
When are you not planning more shenanigans?
those tires aren't going to do anything in the snow. Apparently, China and Italy use the same bolt pattern. Fingers crossed.
I mean, everywhere other than us uses metric, so...
Just having your measurement system divisible by 10 is so nice.
Yeah, I mean,
Unbelievably premium.
imagine that. We have 10 fingers, base 10. Does that make sense?
What's half of?
No, let's just make up completely arbitrary measurements. So, I got my bearing housing tacked on there. Now I have a design for the arm that goes on the top here. I'm gonna cut it out and see how it looks actually, you know, there. Look at this delicate little flower. This is the second layer, so it's the same hexagons. Well, the hole's still a little small, but like that, and then I'll weld it all the way around the outside and it'll be super duper strong.
That looks nice.
Yeah. Well, now comes the part where I chop up my nice work here with this one, because it's not going to work for a couple of reasons. One, it's, you know, I need it to be lower down and shorter of an arm. And two, it's going to just be 2 layers of steel with it'll just, it doesn't need this bearing in it. It'll just sandwich a heim joint. So, luckily, I didn't ever fully weld it. I just welded like halfway. This one was kind of close, but I decided I wanted it a little longer, partly because it needs to bend a little more and I don't want the angle to be super steep, so hence longer. Also, I left a little more space at this end that won't be bent for hind joint clearance, because it needs to be able to rotate, you know, kind of, I'm not sure exactly how far, but somewhere kind of back there. And this one, it would hit that pretty quickly. Fine tunage. Ow. I went looking around for some more hind joints for this, and I realized that I have these ones, which are internal, which means they're a little skinnier, potentially, depending on how far they stick out. Oh no, Gerald.
What's happening to him?
Oh no.
I know.
Poor Gerald, he's lost
no.
his arms. Well, I guess no, he still has his arms. They're just very sad. His nose did fall out though. Poor Gerald. I have these two welded on here. I was thinking I need to gusset it across here, but I actually really don't think I need to. Once I get everything hooked up, we'll see if there's any flex there, and if there is, I'll put a little bit of a brace there. But I did some rough measuring and mathing, and I think that the arm on the other side of this, or the bottom rather, needs to be around 3.5 inches long to the bolt hole for the for the steering cable. The relationship and angle between your steering arm and your tie rod, effectively, the relationship between that, if it doesn't start out at exactly 90 degrees to each other, then you end up with asymmetrical steering. So like, if this tie rod and this arm were kind of like at a weird angle like that to start with, you know, at the 0 point of the steering, then you'd have more steering one way than the other, and it'd be slightly easier one way than the other. Turned into a winter wonderland. I know, all of a sudden we had like the saddest winter ever with no snow, and then it snowed a whole bunch all at once, and it's supposed to be like minus 20 tomorrow night. What the heck is that about? It doesn't usually get that cold here. Hey, dog, I'm trying to weld. Yes, you're cute, but I'm trying to weld here.
Hey, Bjorn. Come that way for a minute. Hey.
just a smidgen better than the previous setup. It's lighter weight. Honestly, I think it looks better. And it works way better.
Wow.
Granted, that's still no weight on the machine, but that's less effort than it took to just move the hydraulic cylinders without them being attached to anything before.
Cold today.
Yeah, it was like -10 this morning. I think the high forecasted for today is -3. I took this apart and I'm gonna move the this plate down a little bit so that there's room for the heim joint to pass through between these. It's just a super easy way to solve that. And then if I end up adding a second cable, it can just go onto the bottom. So the bolt will go through here, heim, this, another heim on the bottom. Anyway, before I put that back on, I'm gonna go ahead and weld this because it'll be much easier to weld without this plate in the way. Just getting my piece of tie rod here centered in the 4-jaw chuck. Get it nice and perfect. And that's the most perfect, look at the dial indicator. That's the most perfect I've ever seen. It's like 1/2 thousandth off.
Wow. That's probably close enough for our
I
applications.
think so, yeah. I mean, even spinning, like, with it bouncing on it, like, look at that. That's very, very close.
That is
Easy.
just so much better than the hydraulic
Yeah.
system was.
Well, and, you know, one, obviously, we don't have all the added resistance of pushing fluid around, but two, I actually ended up with a better ratio here, or easier ratio, just because it was so easy to mess around with the ratio with all these different lengths of arms. Like, you can see how steep the handlebars are. They're much more of an angle than the tire is. So that means easier. Like even with my full body weight on there, super easy to steer.
That's so cool.
Man, it's -4 outside and it's just toasty in here. I can't believe we lived for so long in that freezing cold shop. Remember last year we were working on
that was brutal.
on the little mini van thing? We had the same wood stove absolutely blazing in a shop a quarter of the size, and it was only warm if you were this close to it.
Yeah, testament to the cardboard we had for insulation.
Nice. I decided I simply could not abide the way this thing looked. This little snubbit there. It just sticks out like a sore thumb. So I'm gonna raise it up a little bit just for kind of a better aesthetic. And also that way if I do end up doing a double line, there'll be more space underneath. So I'll still use this round bit here, I think. But instead of having a piece of tube go to there, it'll be flat plate, 2 of them, and it'll just look a lot cleaner and shinier. Right, Bjorn? What do you think? Now that I've got the steering mostly figured out, I still need to order another one of these cables for redundancy, but in the meantime, I'm gonna kind of do some other little odds and ends, like a real kickstand instead of just a piece of tubing propped against it. I'm going to bend, this happens to be 1-inch tubing, so I'm going to put a little bend in a piece of tubing and just make a brand new one. Tucks right up out of the way.
No more jank log style kickstand.
Yeah, no more kickstand that can be kickstand out of the way. Wow, that was really dumb. No more kickstand that can be kicked out of the way. Yeah, this thing's almost fallen over a couple times from that. What are you? Oh yeah, you threw your ball under the. Why do you do this?
That will happen.
Why? Why are you like this? Another little detail here that I'm working on is a gusset for inside of these two tubes. I think it's kind of unnecessary structurally, but it'll look really cool, and then it'll be super duper overkill strong and add a smidgen more weight on this side of the bike. I'm counting every gram on this side, but I'm not counting the pounds and pounds on that side. You know, that's just how my brain works. Anyway, look at how ridiculous my file for all of my parts for this thing is getting.
Holy smokes.
And that's not even all of them. There's
Wow.
There's not as many in this one.
You've made a lot of parts for this.
Yeah, a lot.
Exactly where I'm gonna put them.
Oh! You can't make ice hot, Will. Been putting it off long enough. Time to pull the engine out and weld up the inside of the chassis there. And it'll also be a good time to find out if the engine can even come out, because you just never know. That's not what I wanted. So I saw this done by somebody on TikTok. It seemed like a great idea to me. I think it was TikTok, maybe it was Instagram. I don't know, somewhere. They had a piece of all thread. I don't actually have a piece of all thread right now, so this piece of this random threaded rod that I was using earlier will work. I'm just gonna put the bolts through both sides, throw the nuts on there, and then I can use it to apply pressure outward while I'm welding so that it's less likely to warp and be, you know, crooked and terrible when it's done. Since I had the engine out here, I figured it's a good time to clean it up a little bit. And we have this parts washer that Sam gave us because he wasn't using it anymore. And yeah, I've had this thing in here overnight and it's still just super crusty. Mainly here around where the chain is because of all the years of chain lube, chain wax, whatever, crusting onto the everything there. So I'm just trying to, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I figure I might as well clean it up a little bit before putting it back together. So I've got my little box opener. Ooh, nice.
Oh, heck yeah.
Hey, when I'm done opening the boxes, I can slice them into little bits for putting in the fire. I've ordered a bunch of parts for this, and the one that had to be custom made showed up first. So I've got my second steering cable here, you know, for redundancy. So that's gonna be pretty cool. Basically, just gonna have to, you know, extend and add on to each of these mounts.
Double the safety, because if you want this on the road, I mean, it would be kind of, I don't think it would fail, but if it failed, now you have two, which is nice.
Yeah.
And it looks beefier.
It does. Honestly, it's a lot of it's about looks. I really like the way it looks with two.
I like how it runs. It just looks like it was meant to be that way.
And once I get them all bolted in,
Once you see it with two, you can't see it with one.
Wise words with Will.
Wise words with Will.
Also available on the Set and Bent podcast. Once a week, probably. So you can see that these are at different angles to each other, and I made this flat. There's two ways I could go about this. One, I could have had it angled with these and have a little, you know, swoop to it, which, you know, is a possibility assuming my other idea doesn't work, which is to just take this, put it in the vise, grab it here, and twist it. How's your scribing process going there, Will?
Pretty good.
Nice.
It's not like perfect, but it gives me a pretty good representation of how I need that.
Stop rolling, you. Yeah, that'll work. It's kind of interesting just taking a piece like this and twisting it into what looks like a failure. But once there's two of them, they're all welded together. It should be plenty strong. At long last, our box of exhaust has showed up. I mean, to be fair, it's actually quite quick. I've been talking about it for a long time and didn't really order it until last week. So, anyway, let's see how shiny this thing is.
Oh, it is.
Well packaged, yeah. Ooh, nice. Comes in 3 pieces.
That's very nice.
And I ordered a couple of little O2 bung plugs for it as well.
Something about full system exhaust just gets me tingling with joy. That's very nice.
Oh yeah. I mean, we don't have a muffler yet, but that's because I didn't know exactly where this was going to line up with the wheel, and also I wouldn't want a factory. Like,
Yeah.
I want like something very minimal for the muffler. So.
That is cool.
Oh yeah. Man, this is like one of the first times I've ever been able to just buy an exhaust for a custom project.
Yeah.
Every other thing I've had to build it, and you know, granted I could have built one for this, but why? I could make something that would fit, but it might not perform as well because, you just never know.
Oh, that is so cool.
Goes like that. Goes like that.
That
Yes.
looks so nice.
That's gonna be very nice. I'm glad
That's
I got
gonna
this
add.
in time to go to King of the Hammers. Would have been very disappointing to have it not have a pipe on it.
Yeah, that's gonna add a lot to the, like this end. This
Yeah,
side.
right now this is all empty because there's room for the exhaust to go there. But let's see.
Oh, yes, dude. Yes, that
Oh,
looks
yeah.
so
Hang on.
premium.
Hang on, let me pull this.
Bolt that on there.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Hold your horses. This thing has, I think, copper exhaust nuts, so they don't rust.
Oh, that's smart.
Or brass or something.
I don't just like the
Well.
part of the frame. Hey, no, please. Okay. 30 in
You
the
don't
bank
have the
account, man.
excuse of not having slept last night, Will. You didn't
Yeah.
sleep the night before. Let's see. Come on. When I halfway lost the bet about your cart thing, did I not do 50 push-ups? There you go. Man, where has this bandsaw been all my life? So, I'm stoked with how the exhaust turned out here with just lopping it off. I
Dude, that looks so awesome.
did my best to polish out the old welds there, but yeah, that came out perfect. Kind of a next little step here, I think, is maybe some foot pegs. Yeah, that's why I went with just the factory foot pegs, because I can just put anything on there. If you smash one, like, just buy another one, rather than make something custom that is like, you know, one-off. Quick stay. Stay, Fred. Stay. Stay.
Fred makes the bike look even bigger.
Stay. Good boy, Fredo! Good boy! Yeah! Good boy, sweet. Yeah, yeah! Good boy! Well, now that I have foot pegs and steering that actually works, it's time for a little roll test. The big hill that we did last time, it's kind of covered with a lot of snow right now. We'll just roll it out the door of the shop, down onto the driveway, and see if I can actually steer this time. Certainly easier to steer turning it around in here.
Yeah, and like honestly, for how big and unusual it is, you can maneuver it around pretty easily by yourself.
Yeah. I mean, on flat ground, I wouldn't want to, or I mean, on a hill, would be a very different story, but. Well, this time if I fail, I won't hit the fence at least. Just a big pile of snow. All right. Already this feels better than last time.
I saw you trying to lean with all your might.
Yeah. Hang on, no, I got this. Nice. Oh, yeah. Well, that wasn't a great success, but let's try again. The problem is, we still need to round these tires over. I've been planning on doing that the whole time, it's just hasn't been necessary before now. No. Well, the real problem is that I'm going down a slope that's sloped out, and these tires want to follow whatever slope they're on. So, on top of the weight being on the wrong side, the tires are just going, no, we're leaning this way.
It's so funny to just watch you like try to turn.
Yeah. I'm like, no.
You're like, no, no, no.
Yep. Let's try this center one out of curiosity.
Okay.
At this point, this is just testing for me to learn how to ride this bike. Because it's easy. I can steer now, but I can't stay upright.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's way better. Took a little bit of doing, but
Was it just the angle of the hill that you were on? Or?
yeah, the angle of the hill made all the difference. So that means that when I make these tires more rounded, it will be possible to steer, at least at low speeds. So that's good, because yeah, I was just fighting going across ice that wanted to tip me this way. Every time it hits one of these lugs, it's just like yoink,
Yeah.
plus the weight of the bike. So I know I can steer to the left. That's no question at all. Like, if I just go down this next little hill, Will, you want to give me a shove?
Yeah.
And away we go. Yeah.
No. Yeah, that seems to work pretty well.
Hey, look, it stands up right there. Yeah, well, that steering works about 1,000 times better than before. It's still not going to be an easy machine to drive, but I have a lot more confidence after this test roll than last one. Give me a shove. Let's go. Oh. I had a little bump there. Honestly, this would be easier if I was going a little faster. Faster, Will, faster!
As many willpower as I can.